Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment, and welcome back to Jeff Maconi's Boot Camp. It's been a little while since we had one of these broadcasts, but the boss man, he's going to be running in the ARCA race this upcoming weekend at Michigan International Speedway. So we're back with some more ARCA training here at Michigan, a 200-mile, 100-lap-long race in front of us, and we're going to have some fun tonight. Myself, Ron Mullins, and Marty Zaccala with you in the commentary booth. We also have Howie Burrows working all the cameras and the graphics behind the scenes in the virtual production hauler. Well, Marty, this is going to be some fun. We've got a lot of cars out here on this old school racetrack, which has seen some fantastic racing over the years, and I expect this race to be no different.
Yes, absolutely, Ron. First off, so awesome to hear the news this week that Jeff will be running at MIS later this week. We have two drivers at Maconi Entertainment to root for. He alongside Brayton Laster. I myself have three as well. I got to add in the local guy, Andy Jankowiak. But yes, Michigan International Speedway should be a fun one with the ARCA cars here tonight. Ironically, though, it's going to be different between real life and iRacing. In real life, obviously, you get the normal single file. It's all about the draft. However, though, with the fixed setups here on iRacing, expect maybe a little pack racing tonight during the starts and the restarts.
Yeah, that may end up being a factor in this race coming up. The draft is usually strung in these ARCA cars, and around this 2-mile track, gonna see these cars be hauling the mail, heading off down the straightaways around this track, down into turns number 1 and 2, and down into 3 and 4. Michigan itself is a rather historic track. There's really been 3 like it in American auto racing, and the other 2 have gone the way of the dodo bird. You think of the other 2, auto clubs, sadly, no longer a thing. They've torn down most of the track. I hope they can make that short track one day, and then Texas World Speedway, which I think they've been attempting to demolish since about 2017. Michigan still remains, however, and from NASCAR racing to IndyCar racing, which sadly hasn't come around here since 2007, this track can put on some absolutely fantastic racing action. And based off the fact these drivers are nearly going 3 and 4 wide, and maybe even 5 wide a bit in this warm-up session, I have a feeling we are going to have a super competitive race, and probably won't nail down who's going to be the winner until the very end.
Absolutely. 27 drivers right now will be taking the green flag here tonight. On a track, here's another fun fact here for you, Ron. A track that was literally built on a swamp. They drained a swamp to build a 2-mile speed cathedral in 1969. So, but yeah, a very wide track. You'll see the drivers go 3 wide and 4 wide. Maybe at times on the restarts 5 wide, but we'll just have to see what happens. We saw the race analysis just moments ago. 100 laps, 200 miles. If somehow the drivers actually have a lot of success under the green flags, the fuel window about 46 to 50 laps. So you'll see a 2-stop strategy in between.
And the strategy going to play a huge factor in this race coming up this evening as well. But hey, we got to think about the strategy a little bit later. For now, though, we have got a race to worry about. Someone just knocked down the wall heading down into 1 and 2. I could just see a lot of smoke as that car skidded its way down into turn number 1. Who knows? We may end up seeing a driver pull off like an Elliott Sadler or something like that, go about 50 feet in the air, hang down to turn number 1. Who knows what this race is going to give us? But all we know for sure is that starting from the pole is going to be Zach Flaherty in the number 24 car. That very nice Jeff Gordon tribute scheme is going to start alongside a Dale Earnhardt scheme. That's Cody Earl starting this race in P2. In third, it will be Nate Barkley. Alongside him will be Scott Bell. On the third row of this grid, we're going to have one of our Maconi Entertainment colleagues, Mr. Kirk Mills, alongside Justin Hendry in the number 85. Starting this race in seventh is going to be the boss man himself, Mr. Jeff Maconi. Larry Eberhard will start alongside him in P8. And riding out our top 10, we will have Aaron Leffel and Javier Hernandez.
The 6th row gives us Corey Nodler in the number 21 to his outside. The Corey Day scheme, Tony Green in the 77. Row number 7, Alex Cox in the 98 to his outside. Matthew Stambaugh and old Ricky Stenhouse Jr. throwback in the 17. Row number 8, the 8th row, giving us the driver of the 1, Mike Wambold. And actually, that's all the drivers that qualified. So these are the drivers that come through time trials. Matthew Stambaugh, Mike Wambold, Andrew Halloran, Ryan Middleton, Kerry Ripley, Joseph Tucker, and Chris Phillips round out the top 20.
Oh boy, that was some very odd stuff that we're seeing there as we saw those cars merging into and out of each other. But that's going to be the starting grid we've got for this race. These drivers already hitting the racetrack. Looks like Nathaniel Strotter and some other drivers will not be taking to the starting grid here in a couple of moments' time. Will not be taking to this formation lap. That or they're just being great at presently. But regardless, still have a lot of racers set to get us up and rolling from this race. It's going to be a one-off. Jeff is going to be running this upcoming weekend at Michigan, and as you said a couple of moments ago, Marty, really happy to hear about Jeff running in that race, and I don't believe he'll be running in it, but one driver who I always will be keeping eyes on when it comes to NASCAR events is Austin Green. And the reason why that is the case is because my first ever go-kart that I purchased back in 2013 was actually Austin's old kart that he owned from about 2000 up until me and my dad bought it from him back in 2013. It had his name on the side of it, had some tire marks on it as well, and ended up selling that to a driver who's currently in IMSA. So of the 3 drivers who have ever driven in that kart, I ended up yapping about race cars on the internet, and the 2 of them are driving race cars for a living. But hey, I get to talk about them. I don't have to worry about keeping myself in shape. Instead, I can keep myself focused on this fantastic racing, which starts now. The green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way. A good start there from Flaherty. He'll try and lead them down into turn number 1. Look at Nate Barkley and Cody Earl. They're already battling tooth and nail. That's a good start from the 7. He's now going to try and get the 2-for-1 deal down to turn number 1 on the inside of Flaherty, trying to take the race leads. They had their way out of 1 and 2.
Oh, we got trouble already. 96 around. Larry Eberhard, first yellow flag waves, and I don't think anyone else hit him.
And it looks like everyone got away with that, but regardless, the first yellow flag of this race is going to come out just 2 turns in. Let's take a look at this moment with the 96 as he heads his way out of turn number 2 right now. Did he get a touch? He did get a touch. That was a 3 car assisting him quite badly there, and that's going to be Halloran with a huge amount of damage. That front bumper already gone. The track marshals around this track are probably going to be posting that for sale on eBay here in a couple of moments' time. Actually, no, it looks like that bumper popped back onto that race car. So the incredible stretching man now being driven in the form of the incredibly stretching ARCA car.
Yeah, Halloran just misjudged the corner exit, just came up into the 96 of Eberhard at around E1. I'm trying to see if anyone else got involved in it besides the 3 of the 96 contact. Nope, you saw 2 drivers take action there. Tony Green, Javier Hernandez, able to dodge the spinning 96. And, yeah, that's how the first caution flag flies.
And that's going to be an unfortunate way for this race to get neutralized right after the race finally got up and rolling. It was a good start, though, from Nate Barkley in the number 7 cars. I think we're going to see the 3 maybe decide to tow back down to pit lane. With a 7 car, got off to an absolute flyer there. I thought he was going to try and take the lead. I think now that he's going to be restarting this race in 2nd, he may be a big thorn in the side from Flaherty in the number 24.
Yeah, we'll have to see here as we look through this race. Some of the things that I'm watching out for. I did a little bit of driving with the ARCA car at Michigan before before this race, and then like a little AI-like race. ARCA's cars at Michigan, this is a track where you can't really go wide open unless you really have the clean air at points. You may have to reduce the throttle just a little bit when you're entering the corners, but other than that, you can try and get back on it at full speed. That wall can come at you at any point off of turn number 2. When you're in the dirty air, obviously you have to lift a lot more, which definitely will help your car turn a lot better. Also, a track where you have to watch out for, I wouldn't really say the low groove right above the apron, but the 2nd groove onward will be the places that all the drivers will run. If you want to try and make a pass, you may have to send it into the corner deep to try and get it to stick and work.
Yeah, so we may see these drivers have to say, you know what, screw it, throw caution to the wind and try and get some moves done in this race. I have a feeling, though, this is going to be a race dominated with some real close quarters action up at the front of the field. Drivers throwing haymakers at each other from the drop of the green flag all the way through to the fall of the checkered. And unlike those, unlike the Nashville boot camp races that we had a little bit earlier on this year here on Maconi Entertainment, we'll not have a halfway break yellow. So once we hit lap 50, won't have to worry about a caution coming out. You'll just have to worry about how the second half of this race goes for you. But now, after the first yellow of this race that came out for an incident coming out of turn number 2, about to get this race restarted. It's going to be 4 laps into this 100 lap long race. And it's going to be our pole man, Zach Flaherty, leading this race back to green. The green flag is back out. The driver's back on their way. The 7 looking to get some sort of draft, and you look at Kirk Mills, the number 69 car, maybe going to look to try and get something working there as well. He dives down to the inside, heading off through 1 and 2. That 69 car going to have the draft, and he's going to have some speed on the inside.
Yeah, that's Mills, our co-commentator on FLCC Full-Length Cup Challenge on Saturday night's power. Though he lost the draft, the advantage with that slipstream high side on the back chute. Now everyone 2 and 3 lanes deep here. However, though, it's Flaherty and Barkley with 3 wide for third off the corner.
Yeah, as these drivers start to battle tooth and nail, it looks like these front two got to try and break away. Flaherty and Barkley running P1 and P2, trying to build a gap between themselves and the P3 runner of Scott Bell, as they are, oh man, look at that, fanning out and contact being made, heading off through 1 and 2, and I think, oh, that's huge contact for the O2. That's Javier Hernandez having a tap into the wall, and that will bring another yellow out. I thought we nearly got away with one there, but that brief reprieve of all the cars going straight was just down to the fact that Javier Hernandez, I should say, was spinning like a top through 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's going to force Hernandez in the pits. You see he's got a meatball flag up there. You take a look. Watch the 9 car. That's Cody Earl. Just simply hook him there in the quarter panel. Thought Hernandez was going to be able to make the save. I think he would have had a great chance to if that safer barrier just wasn't there. If he was a couple of grooves lower, would have a good chance. But in the meantime, second caution out. At least we did complete 1 green flag lap. There's a look at the onboard with Cody Earl.
And that was Earl's perspective and all that. Things have gone from good for him to absolutely cataclysmic. The driver of the 9 had a good start and then started to drop back, and now currently found himself in P14 from a front row start. Should be noted as well for this race, we do have a fast repair allotted to these racers, so that's not game, set, match. However, you will have to treat this race, the rest of this race, as if you're walking around on eggshells. Hey, based off the fact we're only 6 laps into this race and we've had 2 yellows, I think this race is going to be a very treacherous one for these drivers, as even a race leader not immune from the drama, as Flaherty getting abducted by UFO a couple of moments ago there.
If you're watching live on Maconi Entertainment, let us know who you're rooting for in the chat. I know this is a boot camp race, technically. This was, I think, planned a day in advance, a day or 2 in advance. And so if you're joining us, thanks for joining us. Let us know who you're rooting for. Ironically, I am one of the 5 viewers, so I can watch chat. Kirk Mills on pit road, and same with Larry Eberhardt, Matthew Stambaugh, Javier Hernandez, obviously. I don't dislike that decision because, again, I go back to what I said. This is a 2-stop race. First stop supposed to be around lap 46. Unlimited tires as well. But, again, 2 fuel stops the drivers must make. That's the key emphasis here. They can go on 1 stop and be good to the finish while everyone else has to go 2 stops. So if yellow flies, this could cycle guys like Mills, Eberhard, Hernandez, Stambaugh up front to the race lead if the race goes like this race goes.
And I think playing a good strategy, that's going to be a good one for these drivers, because they're going to be out of the drama, they're going to be out of the chaos, and they'll be able to just keep their nose to the grindstone, not have to worry about all the smoke and drama going on around you, and they could just stay focused on their own race, stay focused on maximizing their efforts, and who knows, they may be able to grab a checkered flag at the end of this. Should be noted that Matthew Stambaugh going to be picking up an EOL penalty for this restart that we're about to get here in a couple of moments time. It will still be Zach Flaherty and Nate Barkley at the front of this field. Jeff Maconi, though, he's gone off to a very good start of this race, has already jumped his way up into P3. He'll be alongside Scott Bell on the outside, heading to the Geico restart zone to get this race underway. It's the second restart of the evening. How's it going to work for all these racers? Flaherty gunning it through the gears. He is going to go to jump out to a lead down into turn number 1. Some drivers blinking out a little bit farther in the back. that's going to be a nerve-wreck for the drivers that are going side by side with that blinking car. At the front, it's Flaherty in front of Barkley, in front of Maconi. Scott Bell dropping back a little bit as they go
there's a
three wide coming out of the turn, and oh my God!
Alex Cox got hip checked into the wall. The Sunoco 98 able to hang on, but he loses a plethora of spots down to the 12th spot. But back up front, look who's now up to second. Jeff Maconi now trying to get the slipstream off of Zach Flaherty, looking for the race lead. This is going to be a race, though, where if the field gets single file, passing can be a little bit tough, but the slipstream is very easy to get. Passing can be tough in the corners, but it is doable here with the downforce that these cars have.
As I think there may have been a bit of drama involving Kerry Ripley in the number 81 car there. You can see that car with some huge damage on it. You can just sense that it's driving like an absolute hoopty rod down into turn number 1 and 2. As we look at some pretty nice moves going on here. That was Scott Bell getting past Nate Barkley. As here's the battle up towards the front of the field. They go 3 wide right behind. My, oh my, drivers. They may try and make it 4. Look at that. That's the 7 of Tony Green. Running on the apron, and holy cow, he nearly gave a huge hip check down to the turn of side by side at the front between Flaherty and Maconi. Maconi looking for a move on the outsides. They may have just wrecked in the back.
I guess he didn't believe in Justin Hendry, that's for sure. If you know, you know. But now they're wrecking in front of him with the 21.
And I can't say I necessarily was shocked by that going on, but still, that's got to be a kick in the shins for all 3 of those racers. All coming to blows and basically being stuck together as if there's Velcro on the sides of them. The 12, you can see trying to get his bearing straight as they're going to cut to a replay to see this drama. As this was the calm before the storm. Kerry Ripley had some drama on that number 81 car already, and you could see bang into the outside wall. That's a huge hit through turn number 1. Bumper popped off very briefly, but then popped into existence. The iRacing gods seeming to be very, very lenient for these racers. But here's when it all started to go a little bit wrong. You can see the hip checking going on down through the start-finish stretch into turn number 1 and 2. That was already spelling disaster. You can see the contact being made with Hendry and the 77, and then a little bit farther up in front of those 3 wide action with, I would say, probably about 2 lanes that they tried to go 3 wide in, and you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that's going to go bad.
Ron, let me add here as well. There was that one check, one came down, the other just simply came up, wasn't too pleased about showing displeasure. They were just leaning on each other off at turn number 2, both all fighting for the same piece of real estate, and Barkley and Nodler, in fact, pay the price there at the end.
That's going to be a big kick in the shins for all of those racers. The yellow is back at him. We're seeing more drivers make that call to come down pit lane. Here's Kirk Mills in the pits yet again. The 81, I think, was stopped against the wall, so clearly Kerry Ripley has some more severe damage on that race car than we probably had in mind before. And with a meatball flag, yeah, you can see scraping against the wall, not even able to keep it going in a straight line in the pits, let alone out there on the racetrack. These drivers making that call to come into the pits, and you can see that 81 car stopped at a very sour angle. I don't know how damaged that number 81 car is, but I will say, though, I think I've seen less less junky cars being sold for thousands here in the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, they probably won't sell for well in the Motor City if we're going to be talking about Michigan at least. So, but yeah, some drivers also put in. I think the decision also is made at the same time too, because you know you're seeing a lot of pack racing. These boot camp races have also been known for a bunch of wrecks up and down. So drivers are trying to be patient here. Obviously, a long race, 100 laps the distance, and just hang out in the back and hope for all the trouble to go past them. And once it's time, try and make your way up to the front. But at some point in this race, there may be a wreck that doesn't lead to a yellow flag and could be a longer to the end. So you gotta think and consider all your strategies.
Yeah, when we get into that strategy discussion, we may have to talk about these drivers at the front getting shuffled well farther back. But hey, we still got a lot of racing action left to look, and you can see the amount of cars on that inside line as we get this race back underway here in a few moments' time. It's back underway. Maconi now going to jump out to the front. Flaherty, first time in this race for the 84 that he for the 24, I should say, that he's going to be on the outside line down into turn number 1. Maconi going to be leading us through Kerry Ripley with some more repairs needed on that race car, driving oh so sour, even with some of the faster pairs. Not sure if Ripley took them, but regardless, that's still not good. At the front of the field, though, Maconi and Flaherty going to give us a good battle down into 3 and 4 side by side, with Andrew Halloran looking to get some moves done as well in the 3.
Yeah, but all the side-by-side racing with Halloran trying to make the run underneath on Maconi, just going to allow the 24 Florida to pull away, and there's a big side draft and a big hip check between the two. Watch out, Cox and Hernandez trying to get in this battle. It takes 4 to tangle into turn 1.
Yeah, these drivers dancing a salsa down into turn number 1. They're trying to find any way in the book to get past each other, make those moves up without slowing you down too much. And here we go. The battling is now very much on. Here's the 0-2 of Javier Hernandez trying to make something work down the inside, off into 3 and 4 to jump his way up from 4th to 3rd. And here we go. The 0-2 getting that move done on the 3. It's a matter of millimeters between those cars as they come out of the corner, and look at that, that's a 3 going to jump back to the inside, as that's Flaherty holding his own on that inside line as Maconi got to look to sweep around the outside through 1 and 2.
Making the surprise here in this battle for 3rd that Halloran decided not to break the draft of Hernandez. I like the lane, though, that Maconi's running, trying to get the good exit off of turn 2 to gain that speed on corner exit. Slingshot engaged. Maconi to the lead. Watch out. Halloran trying to go 2 for 1 and hip checks the 86 again.
It's getting real physical, more contact being made. Yeah, the 3 and the 86 coming to blows yet again. Here comes the 0-2 of Hernandez. Going to try and make something work on the apron. These drivers are going oh so physical with each other. 15, now 16 laps on the board in this race. And you can see they're fanning out 3 wide. All the cars covered by just about nothing. Licking the stamp and sending it down into turn number 1 and 2. And contact being made. Around goes the 17 of Stamball. And that will bring out the yellow with a big hit into the inside wall.
Yeah, caught the bumper there. Let's look at the replay and see what happened to the 17. Just a lot of jockeying going around. 3-4 lanes wide for position. Watch the 9 car here of Earl, maybe, or was it the 26 off turn 2? Yeah, I think the 17 was just trying to check up and was just a slower rate of speed. And Scott Bell just got him. I think, though, they're going to give the EOL to Scott Bell. But stand by. Felt like maybe if he keeps that foot in the throttle off turn 2, I don't know if he did or not, then I don't think there's really a big issue.
We take a look at that from Scott Bell's perspective, man. He was sawing at the wheel of the number 26, just trying to find any way in the book to get past that smoke and drama on the backstretch. As is this live action? Yeah, this is live action. What's going on with Alex Cox in the 98? He's
Maconi got
There's
a piece
damage
of
on
it
Maconi.
too.
Yeah, I was noting as we wrote on board with that replay of Scott Bell that there's some sort of drama that went on. What in the world happened there? The 24 got a piece of that drama as well.
Yeah, I don't know what Hernandez is thinking there in that situation. Maconi, I think, is talking on the radio. And don't know if he seems too displeased on that or not. If I'm admins there, I'm considering taking the 0-2 out of it there. Hernandez, in fact, just disconnected due to packet loss.
That was ugly. There's no way to describe it any other way. That was ugly with Javier Hernandez. I think he was trying to catch up to the pack and completely underestimated how close the field was. And bang, there you can see the contact being made. And I think that was right there. Yeah, he also forward immediately. He knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, so it claims packet loss, but I'm guessing he wanted to quit iRacing before actually joining in. So this sort of gives us a new, I don't want to say a new race because of how many laps we got left and the fact that there is a quick repair. But with Hernandez, that's just something where he's just not paying attention simply. And you have to be doing that at all times, whether it's a hosted race or an official league. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, that was just ugly. As I said a couple of moments ago, there's no other way to describe it. That was simply a messy moment down on the back stretch. Stamball's an end-of-line penalty. He was a driver that spun down into the infield and was one of the main reasons why this yellow has come out. But Wow, talk about swapping stuff up. We've got a lot more cars out of this race than we did not terribly long ago. Jeff Maconi, he's been struck by a falling anvil and all this, and it's now the 3 of Halloran and the 85 of Justin Hendry occupying the front row for this restart here. Only 18 laps on the board of this 100-lap long race. With the amount of twists and turns we've seen, and not even the ones out there on the racetrack, who knows what the rest of this race is going to bring. That pace car making the turn to come back down pit lane. The field now back in the hands of our front row sitters as we are back up and racing here at Michigan. And it's a 3-car of Halloran getting off to a flyer of a restart. The rest of the field already looks at potentially going 3 wide in the not too far off future.
Yeah, Hendry, Barkley, Nodler, or not, excuse me, whatever it is, I can't recall, but trying to work together and see if they can get a slipstream off the 3 of Halloran. Let's see if Hendry makes the run underneath for the race lane. Oh, he turned around!
And that's going to be a wild ride for the 3 off into the grass. The yellow is going to come out again, and that was going for the jugular down the backstretch. We're going to take a look at a replay of this moment as we follow
Halloran
the 85.
Halloran just tried to block the move here. You take a look at Barkley make the run underneath.
Yeah.
There it was. The other 3 just came down, and around he went.
Going for the jugular on himself there. That was an unfortunate block. There's really no way that that can end well. So we're going to take a look at another replay of this moment with a 3. You can see that's the 85 of Hendry having a whole lot of speed, running the higher line off through 1 and 2. Goes for the inside. The 3 tries to cover it off. There's only one way that is going to end, and that is ending desperately, desperately wrong. But another incident, I don't think these drivers are going to be quite pleased with each other in the slightest, Marty.
The beef will be cooked well done by the end of the night.
That it most certainly will be. We'll have to load up the old Wendy's ads. Where's the beef? It's certainly here at Michigan for these racers. And hey, it's been a dramatic start. We are a 5th of the way through this 100-lap long race. See, I can do some math, kind of, sort of, not really. I think we're going to see Kirk Mills come into the pits for the 3rd time in this race. I wonder if he's trying to do a Jordan Worth at Martinsville and come into the pits 100 times in this race and see if he can still get a top 5.
I think he's just trying to, stay away from all this nonsense that's going on at the racetrack. Just wants to try to avoid the wrecks, I think he was already involved in one earlier tonight. I can't remember. But he's just trying to play her safe than sorry. Doesn't want to, if he has to use the quick repair, he doesn't want to use it until late in the race, obviously.
So we're about to get this race restarted here in a couple of moments' time. That's going to be Hendry and Nate Barkley at the front of this field. You can see with this graphic we've got now the amount of fast repairs that have been used by these drivers. Of the top 5, there's only 2 that have used them. Aaron Leffel currently slotted in 5th, and the number 12. I believe it was involved in it was a 3-car stack up coming out of turn number 2 when they were all scraping against a wall, and one of the other cars involved in that was Corey Nodler. And so both of those 2 cars have used their 1 fast repair allotted to them in this race. Just about everyone else hasn't. Maconi has after that moment with himself and Javier Hernandez during that very bizarre crash on the yellow flag procedure. It's a matter of, I'm trying to think, was that, bro? It wasn't even too terribly long ago. It was probably about 8 laps ago when we had that drama. This race has already seen some moments, and it's all starting to blend together at the present moment. But nonetheless, it will be Justin Hendry and Nate Barkley leading us back to green here. Time flies when you wreck. I guess.
That flies when you're having a, yeah.
Yeah, time flies when you're having a concussion from an accident. Waiting for the green flag to come out, which it has now, and the driver's back on their way. It is going to be a good restart from the 85 of Hendry. That inside line on these restarts have gone off to flyer after flyer, and Hendry got to look to try and use that to his advantage as our P3 restarter of Nodler is looking to follow in suit as well, jump into 2nd.
Oh, one up the wall. I think that was the 7 of Barkley, able to hang on to it. Scott Bell with a close call. He looks slow. Meanwhile, Nola looks slow for the race lead on Hendry.
Yeah, they are nearly 3 wide yet again, heading their way off through 3 and 4 instead. It's a 2x2 pack. Never mind, it looks like the 7 going to try and split the difference, potentially heading down the start-finish straightaway. Looks like it'll be Hendry jumping out with that run on the high side. The 21 dropping down a little bit, and here comes Barkley diving down to the inside off it to turn number 1 and 2. Side-to-side contact with the 21 and the 26. That's not going to go well at all. The 12 and the 17 looking to pick up the pieces in that drama. At the front of the field, Justin Hendry and Nate Barkley and the rest of these drivers going to look to try and break away from this drama. But Cody Earl has had a roller coaster ride of a race up to this point. He's going to look to jump his way up into second.
Yeah, let's see if Earl can take that from Barkley as they're side by side again off the corner. Everyone lean on each other. If you're trying to make the pass work, you just really got to try and side drift off the driver as much as you can. You see Barkley doing that on Hendry, looking for the race lead at turn number 1. Got one in the wall as well.
I know. And we nearly saw contact with the 9 and the 12. It didn't end that way, though. Instead, it's a 9 scraping the right-hand side of his race car off. So Cody Earl going to be a little bit lighter heading around this racetrack, but I don't think that's going to help him out too much when it comes to flat-out blast. As look at that, it's a matter of inches between all of these racers. Holy moly, indeed. They are 3x3, and more contact being made coming out of the turn. These drivers being and banging and roughing each other up. The 12 car of Aaron Leffel looking to get involved in this drama as well, heading down into turn number 1 and 2. It's Stanball Hendry, and oh, there they go. That's a huge hit. Multiple cars getting involved in that. That's the 3 and the 21 coming to blows. The yellow has yet to come out as we are officially into the second quarter of this race. Stanball has jumped up to the front. Hendry slotted in P2, and he's now going to try and make something work down the inside, off it to 3 and 4.
Yeah, 21 car done for with the meatball. Now, unfortunately, take him out of the race unless we get a bunch of yellows where he can get a wave around. Now the yellow flag flies. I believe it's for that situation just because it came oh so late.
And that was a very delayed yellow, but nonetheless, it has come out. Yeah, another yellow from this race up to this point. It comes 26 laps into. Justin Hendry is still your race leader. But honestly, Marty, as much as he's been leading for a decent chunk of this recent part of the race, I feel like it's nigh on impossible to try and pick who's going to be able to be up at the front come time for the end of this thing.
Let's watch the replay and show you what happened there. You just see Nolo got spun into turn 1. The 3 of Halloran had nowhere to go. But let me tell you something. There's a guy that's got guts to try and go for the race win. It's got to be Matthew Stambaugh with that insane move he made to the inside of both the 5th, both the 7, and I believe it was Hendry at the same time going for the lead. There you see the 21 with contact off of Nate Barkley in the 7, which sent him sideways.
And that will be yet another incident bringing out yet another yellow. We take a look at another replay of that in Nodler, and the 3 having a big amount of argy-bargy action. You can see the damage on the 21 of Nodler, and after the drama we saw him involved in the early stages, I think that'll just about take him out of contention. Here's a 17 of Matthew Stamball coming down pit lane. Stamball, I can't even remember where he started this race from. I think he was just barely inside the teens, as he's coming down pit lane along with a massive chunk of the field.
Yeah, I think Stambaugh, that was a bold move he made to go for the race lead, and it paid off pretty well. But I wonder if after that, once they started packing things up, he was a little bit concerned about what was going on, so decided, you know what, let's just play it safe than sorry and come in this time.
Yeah, we'll be Stamball leading them out of pit road. It'll be 4th place for this restart coming up. Actually, will it be that? I think shuffling around a little bit, so I'm not sure whether or not Maconi was able to jump out in front. I think it will be. Either way, though, they're not going to be all the way at the back. There's Maconi rejoining the racetrack, so he's actually going to be a 4th place restarter come time for this restart here in hopefully a couple of moments' time. Haven't really gone too long of a green flag run, trusting that 5 times fast. I am hoping, though, keeping my fingers crossed, that we will be able to get some sort of momentum rolling on this restart. This is how this race was guaranteed to go. Yeah, you know, these ARCA cars, I've been hearing this said a lot, how the ARCA cars are way too drafty. It's basically like someone attached a shop vac to the back of these race cars and they got sucked together. So I mean, we still have a couple of weeks until the start of Season 3 of 2025 here on the iRacing platform. So let's see how these cars are going to change. But for now, though, we're in Season 2, and we are back racing with Justin Hendry jumping up to the front.
Now, this is the concern with Hendry here on this restart. A lot of breathing room between him and Scott Bell. We'll see if Bell's going to pick up a big slipstream here down the back and close in on Hendry to go for the race lead, but he's got company from behind. There's Jeff Maconi looking for the 2 spot.
And Jeff Maconi, who did have that drama heading down the back stretch, I wonder if he's treating this race and walking around this racetrack as if he's walking on eggshells, because he does not have a faster pair allotted to him after this. He's already used up his 1. So, would you take it easy if you're Jeff Maconi, or are you going to say, you know what, screw it, wasn't able to win the boot camp at Nashville, I want to get some time out here on the racetrack, so I'm just going to have some fun, haul it off into the turns and try and get some moves done, or maybe even lose some as he goes wide through 1 and 2, loses out a spot to Stimball, as we now got 3 wide action right behind, and contact nearly being made with Barkley and Cox.
To answer your question on Maconi, he needs the practice there, and he just went 2 for 1 as Bella's stand-by got sideways. Great saves. Look at this, though. Holy moly, what a move by Barkley, 4 wide. That takes guts and glory right there.
The harmonica punishment for being passed would be a problem here. Oh yeah, that absolutely would. I don't think I have the lung capacity to be able to do something like that, but that was insane racing coming out of 3 and 4. These ARCA cars are putting on a barn burner here at the front of the field. It's Hendry and Maconi looking to break away from everybody. This is probably the largest gap that we've seen between P2 and P3 ever since the drop of the green flag. And from P3 back to Alex Cox in 4th, that's probably the biggest gap we've seen between those positions as well. Scott Bell going to try and do a slide job off through 3 and 4. Not going to work out, as Cox going to have that exit go for the switchback down the start stretch to complete another lap. But Hendry, Maconi, and Barkley all running nose to tail, and they're nearly going to risk it for the biscuit and go 3 wide off through 1 and 2.
Watch the 26 of Scott Bell get a big run here down the backstreet if they race each other very hard. Let's see here. No draft from the 7 of Barkley, so has to fade back into 3rd. Does Maconi make the move? Yes, he does for the race lead.
And that's Maconi still trying to wheel it on that inside line. The 26 of Scott Bell going to jump in front of the 7, who is going to try and get something to work back on the inside. You can see those cars sliding around. Holy cow, it's 2x2 down the start-finish straightaway off into 1 and 2. Maconi looking to make something work on Hendry, as Scott Bell and Nate Barkley still contest their spots. The 98 and the 9 now going to get involved in all this. It looks like a formation lap, but it's a formation lap that's going on at a steady click of 150 miles an hour. Who's going to win out in this battle for P1 and P2? Will it be Hendry on that outside line, or will Jeff Maconi finally be able to make something work in the 86? Will they go 3 wide eventually? You can see that 9 car trying to run on that 3rd lane on the outside, run a little bit closer to the wall. You can see now the slipstream game as they head their way out of 3 and 4. They all get back into a line. It's like a peloton, the Tour de France, as here comes a 26 of Bell.
This is more than a peloton. This is an Oklahoma land rush in Michigan, making through the way through the center of 1 and 2. Maconi, oh my! He got loose for a little bit, some contact, but Maconi's able to save it.
And now Maconi going to block off a run from Scott Bell on the inside line. Now Scott Bell's on the outside, and he's now going to try and go for the inside down into 3 and 4. Call me Nostradamus! They nearly touch. Holy cow. I think that was contact being made for sure. And oh, there they go. It was going so well until it went so bad.
Yep, that's just the risk of this pack racing here on a regular Tuesday night. Here's a look. First off, Bell clips Maconi, able to save it. Then there is, I think, the bumper from Hendry towards Bell, which gets him sideways. That leaves the 7 get toward here. I think every driver except for, I think, Maconi and Cox were involved, and even Halloran. I think only 3 people escaped without damage.
Yeah, that was a big one as they headed their way out of turn number 4. We're going to follow Cody Earl and his perspective in all this. And driver the number 9, he has had an absolute fever dream of a race up to this point. And let's take a look at this. A contact being made right in front. It looked like he avoided it, but bang,
Ouch.
there goes the 26. Nothing that he could have done. Ouch, indeed. That was a huge hit. He hits a wall again on the outside.
Yeah, a lot of contact there on that restart. That's where you're hoping you have a quick repair left. If you don't, you're just praying you don't have a lot of damage. Here we go for pit stops. I believe the first one here for Maconi and a bunch of other drivers.
Yeah, I think you can see the damage on some of the cars a little bit farther in the back. I feel like we're gonna get to the point where it's gonna feel like the 2020 Clash with the amount of cars that are going to have damage out there on the racetrack. Even the race winner, his car is probably going to be ready for the scrap heap at the end of this race if this just stays on going on the 86. That's Maconi getting out of the pits first, and there you can see him jumping out to the front of the field. Had a bit of a slide on pit entry, it must be said, but he hit his marks perfectly, and he's going to jump out into the race lead. Zach Flaherty, he's back up to second. Alex Cox in the 98 going to be slotted in third. Larry Eberhard will be slotted in fourth with Andrew Halloran running at your top 5 on this restart. And you can see the amount of fast repairs used for these racers. I said not terribly long ago that there were only 2 cars that had used their fast repairs inside the top 5. Now there's 4, so there's only 1, that being Larry Eberhard, who is yet to use a fast repair. And that number 96, he's just been avoiding the drama like the plague. Credit where credit is due. I think we're about to get this race restarted here in a couple of moments' time as well. Already 35 laps into this 100-lap long race. Another EOL penalty for Matthew Stamberg. So not the first time we've seen that. Maybe will not be the last either. But nonetheless, we are back re-racked and ready to get up and rolling here. Pushing lap 36. And it's now Maconi and Flaherty at the front of the field. Stamball going to be picking up a black flag. That'll hopefully get cleared by race control. Not sure what the cause for that, but regardless, it is broken up at the front with Maconi jumping out to the lead and Flaherty slotted second.
Alex Cox underneath just moved up to the 3rd spot past Larry Eberhard. They're side by side for 4th off at turn 2. Eberhard dealing with pressure from Halloran, but the 96 able to clear for right now. Now here goes Flaherty up front, looking for the lead on Maconi.
Yeah, and here he goes down the inside, all through 3 and 4. Will that 24 be able to make up a move on the number 86 on his outside? They're still side by side, heading their way down the start-finish stretch, and you see Maconi running that high line, not really blocking this off too much from the 24, not crowding him down to the inside. That's part of the reason why Alex Cox in the 98 maybe going to try and look to get a move done as well. It is close quarter stuff between all of these drivers in this race as they nearly go 3 wide, a little bit farther in the back of Shaws. They had their way out of 2.
Maconi trying to grab that draft back. Cox with a lot of company from both the 3 and the 26. Bell looking low to go, 2 for 1 for the 3rd position. Can he grab it? Oh, he got a little bit tight. Too much throttle there in the center of 3 and 4. Maconi, though, wants the lead back. A lot of side drafting coming. This should allow Cox to close in.
And now the fight really starts to get intense, as if it hasn't been intense already. The 24 and the 86 being and banging and roughing each other up, heading down that start-finish stretch off into 1 and 2. You can see the 98 right in tow there as well. The 7, Nate Barkley in this race as he's trying to make something work on the inside of the number 98 down the back stretch off into turn number 3.
Trouble behind him. Hendry got turned.
Oh, as there you can see him in the outside wall as well.
Caution.
More damage on that race car. But yeah, we still remain green as he drops down to DFL. At the front of the field, though, Flaherty got to jump to a comfortable-ish lead, a quarter of a second, rather on the big end here in Michigan with these race cars. But I was going to raise the fact that the P3 runner, the number 7 car, Nate Barkley, we haven't really been able to discredit him at all throughout this race. He's always been strong.
Should mention too, by the way, not to get off topic there, Ron. However, though, the 3 has just been parked for the race as Bell looking underneath for the 2nd spot. Great view for the rear view mirror of Flaherty. He's somebody they battle for a second so he can pull away, but Maconi clears thanks to the draft, and now Flaherty's trying to break it.
See that game of slipstream heading down into 1 and 2. It is so vital in these race cars, and we're going to see these racers stop at no cost to try and pick up the draft off each other, heading down some of the flat out blasts around this racetrack, and even off through the corners as well. Just haul the mail, keep it flat, and you're going to be golden. For now, though, Flaherty clearing Maconi. Maconi now may potentially have a challenge on the high side, as here comes Barkley. Gonna look to try and get involved in this battle. If Maconi has a slow exit, which I think he has, a 7, gonna be there to try and pounce, and here we can see him. That 7 car really right at the back bumper of Maconi, pulls down to the inside line, down into 1 and 2, basically no separation as he headed his way down in there. Nearly stuck at 3 wide on the inside of the number 24 as well, but the 7 just looking to take these baby steps and jumping up to P2, which he has done now.
Yeah, I think what Barkley was trying to set up on the front stretch, try and bump trap Maconi. He's been seeing Flaherty try and block the 86 car's move. So Barkley was trying to go for that 2-for-1, but regardless, he is up to second and now could get the lead. Meanwhile, Bell Maconi trading for the 3rd spot.
And Scott Bell, another good driver to talk about in this race. At number 26, he's been quick all throughout this race, even through the drama and the smoke that's going on up to this point. He's always been there, as you can see, that close quarter stuff out of turn number 2. You can tell that was dramatic based off the fact that I briefly sound like a tornado siren as they headed their way out of turn 2. Maconi and Bell treating us to some really good action. At the front of the field, though, Flaherty, as much as he has been happy to have that spot at the front of the field and running strong and running comfortable, the 7 of Barkley is right there to the back of that race car. He may be sizing up and moving the not too far out future, because if he doesn't, look at the likes of Maconi and Bell to maybe get one done on him as well. Maconi, right as I say that, gonna go for the dive down into 1 and 2.
Yeah, Maconi can get the drive off in turn 2. I don't think he was able to with the 7 getting back on the gas first. Maconi has to slot in front of the 26, but Bell says, my turn to go for 3rd, maybe 2nd.
Look at the number 98 of Alex Cox, maybe going to get involved in this battle as well. They nearly touch between the 7 and the 26 coming out of turn number 4. 44 laps now into this race, and they're 3 wide for 3rd. That's the 86 of Maconi, the 26 of Bell, and the 98 there of Alex Cox on the inside. They're going to get it somewhat sorted out with some side-by-side racing still between the 86 and the 98 out of the turn, but the 26 of Scott Bell thinking, you know what? I want to back out of this. I want no parts of that absolute chaos going on in front of me.
Yeah, all the race has been going on for 3rd. I'm back here in what I believe may be our longest green flag run of the night. Ron, I know you say it a lot. I hope I don't jinx myself saying that time. But right now they're all single file. All is going well. While we've been watching the top 5, other racing going on. Cody Earl up to 6th. He's racing Matthew Stambaugh and Larry Eberhard, who's in 8th. Kirk Mills just taking out shotgun in 9th. He's the final car on the lead lap.
And Kirk, he's had a lot of runs through pit lane at this point. I mean, hey, if he's not going to lose out a whole lot of time, can't necessarily blame him for coming into the pits all the time. As Scott Bell going to look to try and get a 2-for-1 deal down into 3 and 4. Not going to work out well for him. He's going to drop back down to 4th, was briefly up into 2nd, and still alongside Barkley and Maconi throughout a vast majority of that turn. Barkley and Maconi, though, they've got a side-by-side fight of their own down into turn number 1 and 2. Zach Flaherty, though, the number 24 car. I'm curious what the mindset is for the number 24. Are you thinking of just seeing that drama go on your rearview mirror and just thinking, you know what? I'm enjoying this view behind me. I'm glad that I'm not involved in the side-by-side fight. Or are you going to stay focused on what's going on right in front of you and try and pull that gap if you can?
I think Jeff needs to be aware of all his surroundings and probably set up for every move possible, whether it be for the lead, whether it be mid-pack, whether it be in the back of the pack. So I think he's going to learn everything that he could possibly do. All options are on the table. Take advantage of all those options you have, all those scenarios. Just don't choose the spin scenario that Scott Bell nearly just did.
That would have been the worst commentator's jinx / best commentator's jinx that I've ever seen. The 26 of Scott Bell. He had to use some ninja-like reflexes coming out of the turn to keep that car going, not necessarily in a straight line, but make sure it didn't smack into the wall. You can see the tap out of the turn and a big sideways snap onto the apron. He kept it going, though. I'm not even sure if he knew how he kept that car underneath him, but he did, and that's what matters at the end of the day. Now Maconi looking to get something to work around the outside of Flaherty off through 1 and 2. Now on lap 48, coming to 49 this side by, so we are getting up to the halfway mark here, Marty.
I'm just going to say my jinx is not, it will never be as good as what Howie's jinx was a couple weeks ago during FLCC lights. Here comes Maconi, though. Challenging for the lead on Flaherty. Advantage the 24 off for turn 4. And he's got that air push from Nate Barkley. Maconi, no choice but to slot back in line.
That was absolutely glorious, Howie. Speaking of glorious, we got 3-1 action down into turn number 1 and 2. Maconi looking to jump into the race lead. The 7 of Nate Barkley going for the send as a 24 going to have that momentum on the high side, heading down the backstretch, off into 3 and 4. Will the 24 clear him? Yes, he does. So this 3-car pack is still settled with Flaherty at the front. Maconi, though, I talked about this a little bit earlier on, how Jeff Maconi was not able to grab a race win during the Maconi Boot Camp Nashville series. Wasn't able to win there. He's got a fast race car here at Michigan as he's now trying to get it to work down the inside of the 24 off into 1 and 2. I think Maconi is a solid shot to do well in this race as we get into the second half.
I think that's the big key right there. You got to have the side draft to set up into turn number 1. Had a good slide job as well off turn 2. But Flaherty says, I want to take it back from you. This may turn to slide job city here in a little bit.
Ooh, as you can see, oh no, he wasn't able to clear him, heading his way off through 3 and 4. I thought Flaherty was maybe going to try and force the issue there, but he just could not. He cuts down to the apron, try and shorten the run down into 1 and 2 as much as he can, but now the 7 going to draw alongside on the high side, heading his way off through 1 and 2. That's Nate Barkley trying to bark up the tree of the 24, but he scrapes the wall coming out of the turn. That's going to sacrifice his run, and all this battling. Look at the 98 of Alex Cox. He has certainly got involved in this battle as well.
You got a little squirrely down the backstretch as well, so yes, you're all right as well. With the way the top 3 have been racing for the lead, Cox has had all the momentum on his side, and now they start to battle here for the 3rd spot.
Yeah, Cox and Barkley, they're now battling tooth and nail, and Barkley blinking in out of existence pretty bad. Now, if you're Alex Cox, seeing that 7 car have these connection issues, and there we can say, I was just going to say, yet to reappear, as he has now reappeared, as he gets that move done to jump his way back into 3rd. How do you treat that battle around a track like this, where a small little bit of contact will usually snowball into a big bit of drama? Do you just, like, avoid any sort of drama, or do you really try and force this issue with a car that's blinking wildly in and out of existence, and you're not entirely sure if you're going to get net-coded by?
Sorry, Ron, can you repeat that question? I got all these engines in my ear.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you've got a connection issue with a car that you're going side-by-side with, would you really force that issue too much?
It all depends on the situation. Just saw the 7 tap the wall there. I think if you're dealing with the car blinking, don't want to be too concerned unless it's late in the race and you have no choice but to go for that move. Try and risk the net code. Here goes Flaherty, though, looking for the race lead.
The battle up at the front of the field really has not cooled off ever since the drop of the green flag, as he gets either side by side yet again, heading down the start finish straightaway, nearly making side to side contact, which I can't necessarily say is the advisable strategy here at Michigan, but hey, they're giving us a good battle at the front of the field. I can't necessarily complain about it. Maconi is your race leader with 47 laps left to go in this race, and the front pack fight has broken up a little bit, so we jump back a little bit to find this side by side racing with Larry Eberhard. I will get that name pronunciation correct on the first time between now and the end of the show.
Caution, but Barkley.
Right as I was talking about the 7, a few laps later, he gets struck by a falling anvil.
Sorry, Howie, you don't have it anymore. Here's a look at what happened. Just simply caught the wall, and the car just lost, and he tried to save it. Bang, head on.
I like the aura of the good there on the top of the screen. Thank you very much for that,
And
Howie.
this will make things interesting now here, Ron, because I mentioned the fuel window, 46 to 50 laps. It could be close here, but drivers should be good to make it the distance here the rest of the way. It's lap number 55. They can pit and go scot-free to the finish and hope that there's no overtime.
And we do have 3 green-white checkered attempts allotted to these racers. So if we do have to get off into that, that will be when we start to see this race really start to bulge into chaos. That incident for the 7, though, rather bizarre down into turns number 3 and 4. So not really sure what to make of that, but regardless, we do have some pit stops coming here. Marty, here we go.
Nobody's staying out here. Everybody coming in for full tank of fuel and 4 tires, then they can go away with it.
As these cars trundle their way down into pit lane and hit their pit stalls finally, I wonder who's going to be able to jump in front. Will it be Maconi? He's had those lightning quick stops all throughout this race. Or will it be the 24? You see all these cars decide to take some good tires. I think Maconi's going to be the first out and away. Yeah, there he goes. The 24, though, I think he's got to beat him to the pit line. Yes, he did. So that's going to be Flaherty remaining up at the front. Maconi going to be slipping back to second. And here comes Kirk Mills. He's going to be exiting out in fourth. That was a fantastic stop from him.
Yeah, Mills with a great stop. I believe had the best one at a 14:57. So now puts him into a spot where I think it's now he thinks it's time to go for a race win potentially. So while we are at it, 45 laps to go here. Glad you could join us on Maconi Entertainment for a boot camp race for Jeff Maconi in advance of ARCA's Virtual Henry Ford Health 200 at Michigan. Jeff, alongside one of our color commentators, Brayton Laster, will both be running that, so that'll be a lot of fun to watch. Kirk Mills taking an extra pit stop here as lights should be out here. 1 lap until we take the green flag. We're at the top of the hour. Ron Mills on play-by-play. He's stepped aside real quick. Marty Sakala with you on the call. And working up in mission control, we've got Howie Burrows once again. So 6 cars as of right now. Getting ready to restart. We just had Mills and Stambaugh each pit. They're just topping off on fuel and another set of tires. Should mention as well, this yellow here benefits Justin Hendry after he was involved in that accident that did not lead to a yellow flag. He'll restart in the 7th position, Ron.
Yeah, and when this green flag comes out, we are going to have only 43 laps left to go in regulation for this 100-lap-long, 200-mile race here for Jeff Maconi's boot camp. Again, the boss man, some experience before his ARCA race here this upcoming weekend, and looking forward to seeing him hit the racetrack in that number 86 machine. Saw him at Nashville a little bit earlier on this year and saw some of these boot camp races being organized there at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. But we're here at Michigan. Complete different racetrack, complete different kettle of fish, and right now we have got a whole different lot of drivers at the front of the field. None of them that I saw in those Nashville races showing up here at Michigan with these brand new ARCA cars that were introduced into the sim a couple of seasons ago, and we're about to get the green flag back up and rolling. It's Flaherty at the front, Maconi on that high side. He's going to jump immediately back into the drafts as they start to dice a little bit farther behind, going 3 and maybe even a little bit of 4 wide action down into turn number 1. What I do know for sure, though, as they nearly fan out and go 5 wide. Holy cow, heading their way all through 1 and 2. That is some incredible stuff. That's scraping the wall. That's Justin Hendry. They are swabbling around this racetrack, trying to figure out any way to get past each other as Flaherty and Maconi jump up to a good gap in P1 and P2.
Maconi still trying to more opportunities to get that race lead, but Issue is he won't have the best draft because he's side by side now. Flaherty breaks the draft to try and set up Bell to get a run underneath the 86 to grab the second spot. That's been Flaherty's toughest opponent tonight. It's been that boss man of the 86.
Yeah, Maconi being the boss of the high side, heading his way off through the turn. As you can see, that's a 98 right on his inside as well. And you can see a little bit of squabbling right behind. Here comes the number 26 of Scott Bell, though, trying to make something work as Kirk Mills is involved in all that drama as well in the 69.
Those wondering, Justin Hendry got really sideways in turn 2, kicked up some tire smoke, but was able to save it. Can confirm Justin Hendry has been named the new Pope. Side by side, though, for third of the line, Jeff Maconi edging out Kirk Mills. The Maconi teammates going at it for the bottom step of the podium.
Habemus Hendry Popham. I have no other words to say. 41 laps left to go here at Michigan. And look at the 69. That's Kirk Mills trying to make something work on the inside of Scott Bell, who's got the momentum on the high side. He's got some draft assistance as well. The 24 of Zach Flaherty. I think we're going to start to see him maybe think about being involved in a battle yet against Scott Bell. Going to jump up alongside him very briefly. Bit of overlap between those two cars, heading their way off through 3 and 4. And you can see that game of snaking heading down that start finish not so straight away. Flaherty still holding on to the race lead, but now it's Bell and Maconi battling for second right behind. Kirk Mills slotted in fourth. He's got a challenge from Alex Cox right alongside as they are still close coming out of the turn.
While Maconi door to door in this drag race down the back chute. Flaherty's loving what's happening behind. He'll try and find a way to pull away, but he cannot. Bell has made the clear. He drove it in deep into turn 3. Now over the spoiler of Flaherty looking for the race lead. Under 40 laps to go here at Michigan.
And with Flaherty at the front in that number 24 car, I wonder how he's going to manage the end of this race. He's clearly got a quick car. He's spent a lot of this race up at the front of the field. Started this race from the pole, for crying out loud. So he's quick. I gotta wonder, though, with the amount of slipstreaming, it has been a game of leapfrog with these ARCA cars, a game of leapfrog being contested well over 180 miles an hour. These cars are going to be ones where even if you have a good car underneath you, you just need to manage that draft and keep those cars battling behind you so you can stay up close towards the front. Maconi has another wall scrape coming out of the turn.
He nearly caught the wall as well off in turn number 4, but able to get that arrow push from Stambon, the 17. Nice rebounding after he was involved in instant earlier this evening. Now right in the final spot in the top 5. Now around the outside of Scott Bell. Now up to 4, trying to get Maconi. And Bell losing some spots here, going down the leaderboard.
Yeah, now we're starting to see
look
some
who's going for the lead,
who...
though.
Yeah, there we go. That's Mills. Maybe got to try and get dicey with them. Look at that. Nearly coming to blows, heading their way off through 3 and 4. That's Mills on the inside. The 24 of Flaherty holding on to the high side as they head their way down that start-finish straightaway off into the turn. And here comes Maconi. He may try and make it a 3-car battle for the race win. The 69, though, of Mills looking to clear him out of the turn. It's close. It is very close out of turn number 1 and 2. But the 24 going to switch the inside down the backstretch off into 3 and 4. Mills had a brief moment of reprieve, but wasn't able to really make that move stick. Now the 24 going to be on his inside. They nearly touch again off through 4.
Yeah, Mills just touched the quarter pounder of Flaherty, which got him just a bit squirrely, able to hang on to it. Mills getting a little bit of a draft help from the 86 of Maconi. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here. Oh boy, that was starting to turn 1. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe, Ron, that was Kirk's first lap slud of the day today.
I believe you may be correct there, Marty. And Kirk, very good driver. He's a driver that you can catch in some of these Maconi special events. And you can also see him in the Friday Night Lights FLCC series broadcast on the Fridays here on Maconi Entertainment. And won't see that this week, but he will be able to catch it next week. Oh boy, that could have ended in tears between Maconi and Flaherty. Mills going to use that side-by-side racing to build a bit of a cushion between himself and your P2 and P3 runners. These gaps that we're seeing at the front of the field are basically nothing. We were talking about this before we got the start of this race. It really does feel like a pack race here at Michigan as we have Flaherty yet again on the inside of Mills. We've also got Maconi on the outside of Flaherty as well. 3 cars covered by nothing.
Here goes Barkley trying to grab that third spot for the 24. They nearly touch it in the corner. Nice job for Barkley trying to fight back, but he catches Flaherty hanging on to it. Stambaugh takes advantage. He's up to fourth.
You can see, holy cow, that pack. This battle that we've got going on up towards the front of the field, there's only so much you can say before you run out of clever similes and words in the dictionary to describe it. It is just awesome what we've got going on right now. Kirk Mills and Jeff Maconi. This is an interesting battle because you've got boss versus employee. You've got Kirk Mills, one of our colleagues here at Maconi Entertainment, and of course the boss man himself, Mr. Jeff Maconi. These two are battling for P1 and P2 in this race with 34 laps left on the board, coming to 33 this time by. They're looking to break away and form their own pack. With this side-by-side racing, we haven't really seen these drivers, even when it was just three of them running by themselves, didn't really see them be able to shake off the rest of the field. So I think these drivers are hoping for their own respective races to potentially just settle down here at Michigan.
Right now, I feel like if I'm Jeff, try and push the heck out of Kirk Mills. We get really far ahead, but obviously don't want to push too much, or else he'll cook the water temp and the oil temp and blow up that engine to pieces. Now you got Flaherty underneath, but if you're Maconi, gotta defend, or else Flaherty will catch up to Mills and go for that race lead back.
And when we get dicey at the front of the field yet again, we're going to see another driver rise to the acclaim and be able to get some moves done. I think all of these racers really have a good opportunity to do it. You look at Kirk Mills, current race leader. Flaherty, our pole sitter, has led a lot of this race. I believe he's probably led the most amount of laps heading up to this point in the race with 32, coming to 31 left to go here tonight. Jeff Maconi, obviously quick. And you look through the rest of the field, all very quick drivers in this race, as it looks like Mills going to get two moves put on him in the span of a couple of moments there. It looked like it was going to be the case. They had their way out through 3 and 4. Flaherty gets that move done to jump into the race lead, and now Mills under pressure from Maconi on the high side.
Yeah, Maconi gave Flaherty that push as the 24 through the slide job in turns number 3 and 4, and now the teammates side by side for a second. At this point, they should be working together with each other, I feel like, in my opinion, but holy moly, Mills way too high up the hill in turn number 2. I don't know how he did not tag the safer barrier.
Yeah, these drivers, they are testing the limits of their cars, the limits of their competitors, and the limits of this track as well. Now, here at Michigan, you don't really have too many forgiving limits. You've got the apron heading down the start-finish straightaway, but outside of that, you've just got a wall. And walls are not soft. They may be called soft walls, they may be called safer barriers. They still hurt if you hit them. I think these drivers are going to look to try and avoid that at all costs of this track with 88 degrees Fahrenheit track temperatures. That's a bit on the warmer end, but the action at the front of the field is still hot as ever with Mills, Flaherty, and Maconi all battling hard, with Maconi nearly coming to blows with the 24 as they sent it off down into 3.
They traded paint there in the corner. That's allowing Kirk Mills to pull away big time. Definitely what Mills wants. He'll probably thank Maconi for that later on. Behind them, Barkley and Stambaugh racing for 4th.
And Stambaugh, the driver of the number 17 car, involved in that battle. Two very quick drivers in this session as well. So we got to think about what may go on throughout the rest of this race. Whether or not these front 4 are still going to be involved in this battle all the way through to the fall of the checkered flag. We could see some more, maybe the likes of Stambaugh, the likes of Alex Cox, maybe even Larry Eberhard, Justin Hendry potentially. I feel like it kind of starts to fade off from there. We got some quick racers still left in this race here tonight. So as much as the front 4 have broken away and formed their own little battle, I still think we can't discredit at the rest of the field.
So I still feel like, even with how much field we have left in the race, 10 drivers on the track, I still feel like we're going to get one caution, and it may come late in the race where we could see eventually all hell break loose.
Yeah, someone's got to turn the keys on the gates of hell and just let it all hang out. Let it all it's going to be pandemonium if we do have that go on. A late race yellow. If we have a green-white checkered attempt here, holy cow, with the action that we've seen up to this point and the hecticness we've seen up to this point as well, I would not be shocked if we ended up using all of those green-white checkered attempts. But regardless, we still have 27 laps, 26 and a half to really think about that. At the front of the field, though, it is still Kirk Mills. Jeff Maconi and Flaherty still have a battle of their own, and you can see that game of chase heading down the backstretch off into the turn. The draft just ludicrously strong in these ARCA cars this season.
Maconi made that pass on Flaherty all the way down to the apron, by the way. I think Mills helped him set that up, and then they just went back to the outside to set up their arc into turn 3. And now Maconi starts to get the slipstream, the toe off of Kirk Mills. And now Barkley's starting to get back into this battle here for second. But as I say that, he taps the wall off too.
I think these drivers, if I had $1 for every single time one of these drivers tap the wall coming out of one of these turns, I'd probably be able to send some money to Jeff so he could get some more sponsorship together for this upcoming ARCA race, and he will be a part of this upcoming weekend. Wishing the boss man the best in his ARCA racing adventures this upcoming weekend. And I'm sure he's wishing himself nothing but the best as he tries to chase down his own employee, Kirk Mills, down the start-finish stretch off into 1 and 2. Mills in that 69 car, trying to figure out exactly where is the best place to position your car to kind of choke off the draft. As much as the draft is strong around here, the dirty air, I know it's a cardinal sin to mention this when it comes to over broadcast, the dirty air going to strike as well, but Maconi going to use that run to send it off down the inside, off into turn number 3 and 4. Maconi and Mills side by side at the front of this field. The number 24 of Flaherty maybe gonna make a 3 wide as they come out of the turn. Maconi gonna slip back into the drift of Mills, and he's gonna leave that 24 car to hang out to dry on the inside.
Yeah, not what Flaherty wants, that's for sure. But Maconi and Mills gonna try to work together to make sure a Maconi car stays out in front in this race lead. Oh boy! Oh boy!
How the hell did they keep that going in a straight line?
I don't know. But man, Flaherty and Maconi got together. I think they touched the wall as well. We're able to save it. Here's a look at the replay. Watch this off it too as Flaherty tried to clear Maconi. Just came fighting back. Code Brown moment for both.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely terrifying as we run on board with Maconi's perspective. Yeah, that... I gotta say, I am very happy not to be behind the wheel with a certain moment like that, because I'm pretty sure my heart would still be beating out of my chest at that moment. Even for Flaherty, that sort of slide, if he doesn't save it on the first snap, he probably hits the inside wall. If he doesn't, well, he hits the outside wall. If he didn't save it on the second snap, though, he probably will have knocked down that inside safer barrier and potentially bring out another yellow in this race. We're in the longest green flag run by quite a considerable margin. Knowing my luck, I probably just jinxed it. We're going to have an asteroid come down and crash into the infield in about 5 minutes time. But regardless, 22 laps left to go in this race. Kirk Mills is still your leader, and he's holding on to a rather comfortable gap in the grand scheme of things between himself and Flaherty. 0.3 to a quarter second. It's just about the biggest that we've seen, but you can see how quickly that diminishes in the span of just one straightaway here at Michigan. It goes from a comfortable gap to bumper-to-bumper action in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, that's all because Mills made that move low to try and break the draft, but unfortunately that cost him, and I may pay the price for the race lead. Here comes Flaherty underneath.
And now he's got to look to try and get some drama here. Get that cheddar to be able to jump into the front of the field. Maconi, though, you got to make a 3 wide on exit. That is a tight squeeze from the 86 in the middle. He's going to try and make it work, though. Kirk Mills probably going to have to back out of this. Maconi going to slip in front of the 24, who's got to maybe try and look to do what Maconi did a matter of a few moments beforehand. Split the difference, go 3 wide with these racers. It's going to be a drag race heading out of turn number 4 between Mills and Maconi, who's going to jump out to the race lead heading down into turn number 1. Scott Bell has made the call to come into the pits from 9th place in this race as Maconi going to clear Mills, and now Flaherty looking to do the same.
Yeah, some drivers deciding to prep and get ready for overtime if needed here in Hendry and Ball. Both of them just normal pit stops for each of them for right now, but all eyes with 20 to go on this race for the race lead. Here goes Mills once again. It looks like a battle for the Piston Cup in turn 3 with 3 cars in this.
And hopefully you don't have any
Whoa!
tongue stuck out as Maconi. Oh,
there,
that was a
boys.
rodeo ride. Coming out of turn number 4, he was oh so close to hitting that wall. I won't be shocked if he hit it. Just from our angle, it looked like it was a matter of an inch between himself and that wall. And even then, I think an inch is a little bit generous. Mills got to stall out on that inside line. Flaherty got to jump up into P2. Very briefly, though, Mills regaining the speed through the midterm, but going to lose out on that spot to drop down into P3. These drivers, though, they have formed their own little microcosm at the front of this field. There's a black flag out for Justin Hendry in the number 95 car, so things not going well for him in this race, and they will continue to get worse as he'll have to come down pit lane to serve that.
Nope, they're cleared.
And if they do clear, that will be a that will be a good blessing for Hendry. But he's still 1 lap down this race, currently slotted in 8th, and not gonna do him any favors. As we jump around a little bit and find this action involving the 96 of Eberhard, the 7 of Nate Barkley, and the 98 of Alex Cox. Now Cox looking to get something down the inside of Barkley.
Yeah, it's another good race on track. Barkley's faded a little bit since he almost spun out there a couple moments ago, about maybe 15, 20 laps ago, but Flaherty and Mills side drafting off each other in that race for the 2nd spot.
And as this battle at the front of the field continues to get spicy, they aren't losing time to that pack behind either. I was going to raise a gap between your race leader of now Jeff Maconi and your P4 runner, the number 96 of Larry Eberhard, was about 2.5 seconds. It's remained about that. If not, it is maybe starting to grow a little bit. So as those drivers are distracted with their own battles, these 3 have the opportunity to battle tooth and nail. They're coming to 16 to go this time by. I'm not sure if Kirk Mills has that long run speed in the 69 machine to really get up there and dance with these racers for the win. Maconi and Flaherty on the other end, I think the race will definitely be on between these two. I think Flaherty has the car, but Maconi has the want.
Oh yeah, without question. These have been the 2 best drivers all night long. Mono e mono right now. 16 laps to go. Mills starting to fade. Could be getting into the paths of Eberhard, Cox, and Barkley. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Eberhard, this is the highest he's been so far in 4th today. And as I say that, Alex Cox underneath trying to take the spot away.
$0 and a 0-foot tall trophy at the end of this race. This is just for bragging rights for the next week. Maconi,
You bet.
he's still trying to hold on to that race lead and win in one of these boot camp races. I think he has a good opportunity to try and do it here tonight. But Flaherty, he's got a quick race car. And I think as much as I discredited him, Kirk Mills still there within striking distance. With the amount of drama we've seen up to this race, Howie, I cannot discredit those two taking each other out and Mills being able to grab the race win. As speaking of drivers nearly taking each other out, that was close quarter stuff between Eberhard and the 7 of Nate Barkley, who's now going to be on the inside of Alex Cox coming out of the turn. But that could have ended in tears as those two battle for position.
Well, that is tight there. Can the 7 slot in line? Not able to do so. The 94, able to be 96. Try to take that pit spot away and almost got it there. Now let's see here. Can Flaherty try and reel Maconi back in with 13.5 laps remaining?
Yeah, and with such a little amount of time left to go in this race, we are getting into crunch time. These drivers are tired of testing the temperature of that water, dipping your toes in and trying to see it. We're getting to the point where if you want to win this race, you may need to take a cannonball attempt. As coming down pit lane there in the back, a shot, not entirely sure who that is. That's Kirk Mills from P3 in this race. I thought it was him in the number 69 car. A green flag stop will be disastrous for him. He's going to drop down like a rock, but if we do have some green white checkered attempts, he is going to be golden. Inheriting P3 and all this is going to be Alex Cox, who has been able to close up that gap between some of these racers at the front of the field as they nearly fanned out and crashed coming out of 2.
Well, now we've nearly seen half of the 10 cars left on track make one final pit stop with about 20 laps to go. This makes me wonder, was the pit window off? Are we going to see drivers come in? That is the case. How about this? long run pit stops here with just over 10 laps to go. Flaherty, Barkley, and Coxon. I feel like this is where if you stay out the longest, you may have the big advantage because you can take less fuel and try and go scot-free to the finish line. I think that's what Maconi, Eberhard, and Stambaugh are going to try and do.
Yeah, I think that may be the strategy call that they're playing at. We'll say, though, Alex Cox in the number 98 car, that was a code brown moment for him coming out of the turn. That could have ended so wrong for these racers. Just a tick before the final 10 laps of this race. Out and away comes the number 24 of Flaherty, 10.1 seconds stopped in his pit stall and about 34 seconds down pit lane. Cox gonna spend a little bit longer down pit lane, but a bit less time down in his pit box. So that's another big thing about this race. With these ARCA cars, you don't have a pit lane speed limiter button. You have to manage those revs, manage the throttle trace, and just keep to that speed limit heading down the pit lane. And if you get it wrong, you're gonna be kicked in the shins big time.
Absolutely here. So we're coming to 10 laps to go. Do the top three have enough? Everyone pitted on lap 55. That put them in about a 45 lap run or so. We'll have to see if they have enough. Maconi leading by 4.5 seconds on Eberhard. Stambaugh back in third. Kirk Mills, the first one that has pitted, by the way, for those wondering, he is in fourth. Everyone doing fuel only. Mills did gas and go. Flaherty did, for the looks of his pit time, 2 tires. I think the same for Cox. Nate Barkley did 4 tires. And then Earl, Bell, and Hendry did 4 too.
Yeah.
Maconi's pitting.
Yeah, Maconi making that call to come down pit lane. Try and get a woed up here, Jeff. Oh, that was very, very quick. I think, yep, there we go. Black flag for Jeff Maconi.
Oh, no.
Right as I was talking about those pit lane limits, Maconi, the boss man himself, testing those limits a bit over the edge. That's going to pick up a black flag. A caution, though. Holy cow.
Eberhard, the leader.
Oh, no, the number 96, and you can see him up here.
I think he had a controller issue.
Potentially, that car looks absolutely destroyed in the 7 of Nate Barkley. Nothing he could have done in that moment as well. May need to load up a replay to figure out what drama has gone on right towards the end of this race. We'll say it's looking good for Kirk Mills. It looked like disaster turned to absolute elation for him. It looks like he's going to be able to hold on to the race lead once all the pit stops cycle through. But here's Nate Barkley out and away in the pit stall. It looked like a rather good stop from him. I noted that he spent a little bit longer down pit lane compared to some of his rivals. I think it was 14 seconds down in his pit stall, which is not a very good quick time here at Michigan. But
the yellow, though, the yellow, we got to put that into issue here with Eberhard. I'm riding on board, and all right, we'll get to that in a moment.
As we take a look at this moment involving Eberhard, this is coming out of turn number 4 there, so looks just about fine, maybe a little bit slow potentially.
Look how sharp this goes to the left.
Oh, that was a big hit, yeah.
Gotta be a controller issue.
Oh, look at the 7 T-boning into the side of him. Those two cars linked together. Nothing that the 7 could have done in there. As we take a look at this moment for Eberhard, and was that connection issue? Was that maybe a monitor issue? That or is
that could have been a monitor issue too. That's a good point. I don't know, but this yellow here, Ron, this is gonna help Jeff big time because he got black flag. He had to serve that penalty. I believe the penalty under green flag conditions. Normally I know normally in league races that we've done in the past, you're held for a couple extra seconds. I don't know what it's going to be now with if it's a pass through or if he just goes tail or not. Right now, scoring has him 6th in the lineup. So if Maconi, his pit stop was a 16.7 second stop, so he should be good.
So it looks like he may be ready to rock potentially. Will Maconi This would be, I mean, regardless, this is going to be a really dramatic conclusion to this race here on Maconi Entertainment tonight. And hey, if Jeff can get away with a pit lane speeding penalty and be able to win this race, talk about an upset. Holy cow. Should be noted as we are coming to 6 laps left to go in this race. I believe we'll be restarted with that 5 laps left. We do have 3 green-white checkered attempts allotted to these racers, and may end up having to use them. I would not rule that out in the slightest for these competitors. It's been a dramatic race up to this point. We will see some wave arounds here, so have no fear. It's Maconi overtaking the pace car to try and grab a beer. That was a terrible pun.
So Jeff will be on the lead lap, but he's got to get hustling here so he can get back in time for the restart. And the same goes for Scott Bell and Justin Hendry. So a new front row when we come to green with a 5-lap shootout here, Ron. Alex Cox, Matthew Stambaugh, your top 2 in the front row.
And talk about an interesting collection of drivers. Alex Cox, he's been dicing all throughout this race. The 17 of Matthew Stambaugh, he's had a wild day here at Michigan up to this point, has gone up and down the field like an Otis elevator, still finds himself running up towards the front right towards the end of this race. Kirk Mills, he really came alive ever since we got the second half of this race up and rolling, and now we've also got that number 24 of Flaherty. He is going to be one of the last cars restarting this race. Going to be restarting it down in 7th. Not in 7th. He's going to be restarting this race in 4th, my apologies. Not the spot that you really want to be in, but at the same time, there could be far, far worse for him. But regardless, this is going to be a real brutal end for some of these drivers and a real momentous end for others. We have those green-white checkered attempts in the factor as well. If we do have to use them as we get this race back up and rolling with just 5 laps left to go here at Michigan, and it's going to be a drag race, the first of its kind, heading down into turn number 1. Usually that inside line gets that fantastic restart. Not going to happen there for the 98 of Cox. He's going to be slow on that inside line. It's going to be 3-wide action as Kirk Mills gonna look to try and jump into the race lead with a move on the inside coming out of 2.
It's gonna get crazy. The intensity has been turned up to the max. Cox, Mills, Flaherty, the top 3. They're beginning big into turn 3. Drivers getting loose. And the row goes to 17. That'll send us to overtime.
And that it certainly will. The green flag going to end. The yellow flag going to come out with Kirk Mills, I believe, as your race leader. As we take a look at a replay to see all that drama, the 85 and the 17 coming to blows. I believe the 85 had some assistance. I think it may have been the 12 that tapped the 85.
26.
It was a 26, my apologies. Yeah, you can see 26 car. Actually, no, I will say credit where credit is due, and not throwing anything to the 26. Nothing he really could have done there. It just looked like the cars in front really checked up, and right towards the end of this race, you're not going to lift in a situation like that.
It just looked like a wishbone situation. Drivers trying to jockey off one another there. So right on board with Scott Bell. Luckily, that loosey-goosey situation, able to help him out dodge a couple bullets here. And we should have, not too much damage off of either driver here. So this should put us into the first of 3 green-white checkers with Mills and Cox here front row as we're coming back to the green in just a little bit. Actually, you know what? This could be 1 to green, so this would not be an overtime attempt, but a green-white checker. We'll have to see.
And looking at the pace car lights here as they cross the line yet again, not going to get restarted. Actually, will we? I'm looking through. The lights finally went out on the pace car. It was ever so slightly delayed. Here's more drivers coming down pit lane. You can see Maconi in the 86, the 26, and the rest of the field who have yet to come down pit lane since that restart. Now coming into the pits, you can see the damage on the 7 car. Both of those tires angled in. I'm pretty sure I've seen the rear tires on a modified Honda Civic with less angle in them. We're going to get this race up and rolling here in a couple of moments' time. Officially into green-white checkered territory for this race. The first of 3 attempts that are allotted to these racers. And if you aren't familiar with the green-white checkered, which you're following Maconi Entertainment, I'm not sure if you wouldn't be, but if you aren't familiar with what a green-white checkered is, gonna grab the green flag, and then once we take the white flag, the next flag will end the race yellow or caution. So it's going to be a rough end to this race for some of these drivers. It's going to be a dramatic end for us here in the commentary booth. And who's going to be able to grab the win is a real question I've got on my hands. We've got Kirk Mills in the number 69 car and Alex Cox in the 98, making up your front row as we head our way through turns number 3 and 4 for what could be the final time under yellow here in this race tonight for Jeff Maconi's boot camp, waiting for that green flag to come out for potentially the last time in this race and get us fired away for the first green-white checkered attempt. It's Kirk Mills leading us back to green. Zach Flaherty, though, going to have a fantastic restart in the number 24 car down into 1 and 2, but it's a pack, it's a hornet's nest. You can see Alex Cox and Jeff Maconi maybe trying to make something work around him. This is going to be a 2-horse race, I feel. Mills and Flaherty, they are going to be running P1 and P2 as they head their way down the backstretch for the final time.
Mills should not have thrown that block. Just opened the door for Flaherty, the 24, to take the lead, and he looks like he's in a very good position unless they bang. Everyone keeping it straight for right now. They're coming to the white flag this time, Ron, and they're side by side for the race lead. Look at the 98 of Cox.
Yeah, the 98 of Cox going to try and make something work
gone.
as well. Oh, it's not going to work well for him at all. He spins to the infield as we head our way down into turn number 1 and 2. He keeps it out of the wall. The yellow is not out as these drivers are beating and banging and roughing each other up. Mills on the inside, Flaherty on the outside. This is going to be some close quarter stuff. If these two come to blows, that 17 of Stamball is going to be the one on standby to pick up the pieces if these drivers wreck. But the 69 of Mills, he dives down, dips below that yellow line. He's going to skate up into the side of him, and they wreck big time. Look at the 17 of Matthew Stamball going to be able to grab the win. Stamball wins it.
Oh my goodness, they just beat and banged until the end. And Stamball says, thank you very much. Christmas came early for the 17.
Holy cow. What a race. What a race that we just had here on Maconi Entertainment. It all started with that drama for the number 98, Alex Cox, getting shuffled out of that battle right towards the end of this race. As we take a look at, here was his perspective in that drama. Trying to make a 3 wide. Mills goes for the block, goes for a double block there, and the 9 got to tap into the back of him, send him into the wall, and nothing that he could have done there. Contact being made, big damage to the suspension of that race car. But here was the drama at the front. Here's where it all went wrong for the 24 and the 69. Mills dipping below that apron. Once he hit that, he took a one-way trip to skate up into the side of the 24, and that's a huge, a horrendous hit into the inside wall. I think he's got to just barely squeak across the line here on the number 69 to finish this race in 5th. But as soon as he dipped below that yellow line through 3 and 4, there's only one way that was going to end. He hit that, and then, you could see him having to saw at the wheel. There's only one way that could have ended. As soon as I saw that car dip below that yellow line onto the apron, I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, tough situation there in the end for both Flaherty and Mills, but in the end, Matthew Stamball steals a win on this Tuesday night.
And holy cow, Matthew Stamball, I gotta wonder what his thoughts are at the end of that race, because you think about it, he entered that final lap thinking, okay, I'm in 5th, let me just hang on to the top 5, maybe wait for these drivers to wreck a little bit farther up the road to make my way up a couple of spots. He went from 5th to 1st on that final lap, and you can see him trying to burn that baby down. Heading down here, I don't have a good feeling about this at all. He is going way too quick through the grass, and bang, he goes into the wall. One of the few mistakes that he makes here tonight is as he's celebrating, shades of Carl Edwards going, oh, and even more harder contact into the outside wall there. So Matthew Stamball clearly happy about his performance here at Michigan tonight. I was just going to say give me flashbacks to Carl Edwards, but now I guess with that moment, it'll give me flashbacks to Jimmy Johnson. But we have got some drivers who are going to look to have a chat with us here in the commentary booth in a couple of moments' time. I think before we get started with the interviews, we should probably take a look at the results and see how things shook out at the end of 100 laps and change here of racing action at Michigan. At the end of it all, it's number 17 of Matthew Stamball grabbing that checkered flag. Jeff Maconi will finish in P2, and then it's Zach Flaherty rounding out your podium in third. It's Cody Earl finishing in fourth. Kirk Mills will be the last of the cars to take the checkered flag on the lead lap. Alex Cox with that drama down into turn number 1 right at the very end will finish this race in sixth. Scott Bell is classed in seventh. Justin Hendry in P8. Larry Eberhard will finish in ninth with Nate Barkley rounding out our top 10.
11th to Andrew Halloran, 12th Aaron Leffel, 13th Corey Nodler, 14th Javier Hernandez, 15th Kerry Ripley, 16th Tony Green, 17th Mike Wombold, and 18th was Ryan Middleton.
Some of those cars a little bit farther towards the back did not take the start of this race, but regardless, that's how it all shakes out at the end of over 100 laps of racing action here at Michigan. At the end of it all, we have got some drivers looking to have a chat with us here, and I think the first interview we'll do, we're going to save the boss man for second. Marty, I'm going to give you the opportunity to have a chance to have a chat with our race winner at the end of this race here at Michigan tonight, and that is Kirk Mills.
Oh, you talking about Kirk? Yeah. Kirk Mills, unfortunately, did not win.
He nearly won.
Yes, he nearly won. Thank goodness he didn't see that while he was in the room. So, Kirk, we know you got a copy. It's Marty and the rest of the gang up here. Take me through your perspective on that final lap.
Well, Marty, let me tell you all you need to know about my terrible self. I've won in a little bit over a year, nearly a year, and I was like, I have a chance. I'm going to win this dang thing. I'm going to go to front. I'm going to take the lead. I'm going to win this thing. Problem is, right on the outside, that 24, he had a lot of run. He had a lot of speed, and I was really angry. I gave him the top down the back lap previous. I was like, you can have it. Turns out I was dumb, and I decided to try that apron. Apron didn't have any run at all. So went up and tried to door him. I tried to get him a little loose. Didn't work. I got myself spun out, and then he hit the wall, and I felt bad for him because I'm like, dang it. If I didn't want to win, I wanted to have at least him do it. So, I didn't want to go side by side of the line because I knew I had no chance at that point. So I did the only thing in my mind that I knew I had a shot to do. So, man, I ran in the back all day, Marty. I was running in the back just on my own, waiting on all the stupids to, take themselves out. But then, right when it comes to the end of it, it turns out I found out I'm one of them. And I'm just like so ticked off, man. But it was fun. I spoke with Maconi the majority of the time in the voice chat, and we had a good time. Man, I thought that strategy was going to work too. But did you have fun watching that? Wasn't that a crazy finish?
That was a hell of a race, that's for sure. Kirk, before we let you go, who you want to give shout-outs to real quick?
My wife, she's hot. I like her a lot. And then, of course, Jesus, I like him. He saves us. And, of course, Maconi Entertainment, because it's a heck of a company, and Lord knows it's crazy to think I work for you guys. So it's a lot of fun. So, anyway, thanks, man.
Alrighty. All right, yeah. So there we go. That's Kirk. Great job tonight, man. And hopefully we'll see you later on down the road. And Kirk he's walked into the sunset. So I tell you what, let's bring in the man that won this race. We will save Bossman for last here, Ron. Let's bring in the race winner who just got the ultimate Christmas gift, Matthew Stambaugh.
Yeah, Matthew Stamball, welcome into the commentary booth, man. I'm not even going to ask you about the rest of this race. I'm going to ask you about that final lap, because what was going through your mind seeing all that drama go on in front of you?
Oh, it was absolute carnage. I spent most of the race in the back. Last lap came down to it. Just got down in the corner and watched everyone else's smoke arising, and car after another into the wall, and coming out of turn 4, look up, I'm in first.
Yeah, I mean that had to have been the like shocker of all shockers, just seeing all that chaos go on right towards the end of that race. Kind of staying with the trend of what we saw here at Michigan, that race just looked absolutely insane from start to finish. Really was never a dull moment. I felt more like a draft race at like Daytona or Talladega than a race at Michigan.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I feel like I spent quite a lot of time on pit road, so come out with a win feels good. Shout out my boys Spare Parts, Blackout Hemp Clinic, Black Sheep Racing. This one's for them.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if there was any thanks or shouts out that you want to give, but you got them squared away before I could even ask you. Spoken like a true professional. But Matthew, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth, and congratulations on the victory here at Michigan. We'll let you go and celebrate, man. Well done.
Yes, sir. Thanks, buddy.
And that right there was Matthew Stanball, a race winner at the end of this race here at Michigan this evening. And Marty, I'm going to let you have a chance to have a chat with the boss man himself, Mr. Jeff Maconi.
Yeah, why not? Let's bring in the boss man himself, Jeff. Jeff, Marty, and the boys up in the booth. You got a copy?
I sure do. What a race, huh?
What a race that was indeed. And I gotta say, I think you got a big gift after you sped on pit road. I thought that was it for you. Then that caution just came out at the perfect time for you.
Yes, I got insanely lucky with all of it. So I had not practiced my entry as much as I clearly should have, because I smoked that entry. So I started checking up at what I thought was the correct time. And then I was like, man, I think I checked up too early. So I got back on the gas, and then I realized I was coming in way, way too hot to pit road. And that did not work out well for me. And so I sped on pit road, and then the caution came out. So I changed everything. It was a 40-second hold. So then I turned off the windshield, I turned off the fuel, and just served the penalty, and then went back out, and the caution came out, so that let me stay on the lead lap. Stay on the lead lap, but now I was like 3 or 4 laps short on fuel, so I was just clutching and coasting for that lap, and then thankfully they wrecked, and I didn't get caught in it, so then I had a chance, and yeah, I knew when I saw Kirk and the 24 side by side, I'm like, all right, they're not making it to the end. Michigan's too insane. They're not making it to the end. So I just had to try and get around the 17, and I couldn't do that. But good win to Matt. He's always fun to race with, and he took advantage of the opportunity before him.
What'd you learn going into this weekend?
I learned Michigan is really, really fast, and drivers are on the edge already, and so there is very little room for error, which I think it was already pretty obvious, but it was still a lot of fun to come out and run it and have a good day, have a heck of a race, led laps, and had so much fun.
It definitely was a fun race, that's for sure. You almost got it. Who do you want to give shout-outs to before we let you go?
Well, I got to give a huge shout-out, of course, to Club for giving me the opportunity. This is, usually drivers are paying to be in rides, and I was very lucky to get the call on this one. Michigan is the hardest track to get approval for, so there were like 5 or 6 different drivers that all applied for the race and to run the 86, and ARCA shockingly chose me. So that was pretty damn cool. And so huge thank you to Club, huge thank you to that. ARCA, everyone there, Menards, General Tire, Reese, Sioux Chief, everyone that helps make the series possible. And yeah, it's I was planning on being at the race already, so that was going to be cool. So all my family's going to be there. We were going to do like a big family get together at the race because it's the closest one to my brother and his kids. And now I'm going to be racing in it, which is insane. And we'll see what we can do. We've got a good plan, and we'll make the most of the day. And there's a Menards near Detroit that I'll be at on Thursday afternoon, and then I'll be at the track all day Friday and signing autographs and doing driver introductions and all the cool stuff that we get to do aside from just driving the race car, which is cool enough in and of itself. So the main goal is to be safe, not do anything stupid, and take full advantage of the opportunity that I have, because it is coming with special permission from ARCA to be able to do it at all, because Michigan's such a fast and crazy place. So can't thank them enough. Can't thank Club enough, and everyone that helps make it possible. Maconi Setup Shop, Maconi Entertainment, Chastity Tucker Realtor, Big Fish Barbecue, Abruzzi Racewear, 4K Motorsports. Everyone that helps make it at all possible. I can't thank them enough. So this is really, really damn cool.
Well, you deserve it, man. Congratulations on this opportunity. We're rooting for you. Best of luck this weekend.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
You betcha.
And that right there was a boss man himself, Jeff Maconi. Gotta be looking forward to seeing Jeff out there on the racetrack. And hopefully he learned exactly how this combination is potentially going to be. Of course, these ARCA cars, not exactly similar as to how they will be in real life. But hey, he knows what it's like to drive an ARCA car around Michigan, regardless of its form. But Marty, that was an absolutely incredible race here on Maconi Entertainment. Final thoughts before we wrap things up.
Yeah, this was a wild one, that's for sure. Hopefully, this ARCA race Friday isn't as wild as this one. Hopefully, we get a couple of long runs leading up to those competition cautions at lap 35 or lap 70 or around those situations. But nah, this was a fun ending to the night, and big congrats to Matthew Stamba on the victory.
Yeah, if you want to stay tuned to try and figure out exactly how Jeff is going to do this upcoming week, how about you stay tuned to all the Maconi socials here on X or Twitter or whatever they call it, Instagram, all the places, so you never miss out on any of the stuff going on here in this world. And if you're tuning into this broadcast and enjoyed the racing action, happy to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast here tonight, for Jeff Maconi's boot camp with the ARCA cars at Michigan, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mons, Marty Zakala joining me in the commentary booth, and Howie Burrows doing a wonderful job working all the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast of Maconi Entertainment tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.